Welcomes everyone, dear respected Buddhist monks and other participants, to the fourth meetings in the Interfaith series co-organized by the Never Again Associations and myself. We are a very diverse group, representing different cultures and countries. You are welcome to write your name, your organizations, and the country you come from on the chat. Please kindly stay muted during the presentations. The meetings will be recorded. The meetings are the part of the project identifying and countering Holocaust distortions, lessons for and from Southeast Asia, supported by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. The project aim is to identify narratives around the Holocaust, develop counter arguments and a strategy against its distortions and in the regions, and in inspirations, critical memory, discourses in the dealings with the past and the legacy of regional consistency of genocide and conflict. The learning objects including increasing the sensitivity to the importance of interfaith dialogues in difference in understanding the Holocaust and hatred against Jewish peoples and other minorities. Refers to local incidents of violence, atrocities, identifying examples of genocide, distortions, and elaborating counter arguments and strategies in the framework of interfaith dialogue. Today is our last meetings, a workshop where we would like to discuss some point arised during our previous meetings and learns your perspectives and idea how to deal with those challenges in the framework of interfaith dialogue. Before starting our workshops, we are very honored and privileged to have the Chief Rabbi of Poland, spiritual leaders and religious teachers of a Jewish community in Poland, Michael Szudrik. Welcoming us today, Rafal would like to say some words presenting respected Rabbi. Please, the floor is for our Professor Rafal Pronkiewski.
Well, thank you, Venerable Lablo. Let me just say we are very honored to have Rabbi Michael Szudrik. I know his time is very limited, and he very kindly agreed to address us today. Rabbi Szudrik, I think, is one of the most popular faith leaders in Poland. Even though the Jewish community is small in Poland nowadays, but I think that the sort of personal impact of the rabbi's presence in Poland is socially very significant. And I should also add, Rabbi Michael Szudrik spent years, well, he's originally from New York, I should add, which he often proudly stresses, but he also spent many years in Europe, in Poland. Before that, he had spent several years in Asia, in Japan, which I think is also quite interesting and quite relevant to the topics that we are discussing in this project, which is very much about interfaith dialogue, combating Holocaust denial and genocide distortion, both in Europe and in Asia. So without stretching your patience even more, I would like to invite Rabbi Szudrik to share his perspective with us. Thank you.
It is my honor to be here. And again, it's really first because of the very deep respect I have for Rafał and Never Again, NIGDY WIŚCEJ, and all that they are doing. Really an amazing organization. And also because I still feel, although I lived in Asia, in Tokyo, only from 83 to 89, which means I may have arrived to Asia before some of the participants arrived to the world, that I still feel this connection. It's just my personal thing to Asia. And just as I said before, just a very quick shout out to Jeremy Jones, who I haven't seen since before the pandemic or before I don't know when. So, but it's good to see you. So to get straight, as a rabbi and a rabbi of Poland, obviously I'm very sensitive to the whole topic of Holocaust distortion. It's kind of even silly for me to talk about why it's so important. But I will say one sentence about that, and then I want to talk about interfaith. And that is what happened to the Jews in Europe during World War II is, if not the worst, certainly one of the worst genocides that ever occurred in world history. Of our Jewish community of Poland, 90% were murdered within a 5-year period. I mean, there are no words to describe how horrible that is. And what is particularly, why this is relevant to us is that I have the sense that if people can try to deny the genocide of the Holocaust, 90% of Polish jury, 80% of European jury, 1/3 of world jury, then people can deny every other genocide that has ever happened in the world, and which unfortunately, if not genocide, mass murders have certainly occurred since then. If they could deny the Holocaust, you could deny what happened in Cambodia, you can deny what happened in Rwanda. And so it's almost like the bellwether. It's the classic canary in the mine. And that's why it's important that the whole world is sensitive to Holocaust denial. Because if people could deny the worst or one of the worst genocides in world history, that means everyone else's tragedies, Holocaust, genocide, mass murder can also be denied. And then I just want to speak for a couple of minutes about what have I found to be incredibly important in general interfaith dialogue, but also about this, and that is how important it is that faith leaders work together. If we can't work together, then who's supposed to work together? If faith leaders, who our vision, our goal is to bring more morality into the world, if we can't find a common cause, if we cannot find common language, then certainly there's no hope for politicians. There may be no hope for politicians anyway, that's a separate issue. But really I see that our work together is really a way, a light for everyone else, whether it be politicians, whether it be social leaders, whether it be cultural leaders, in that if we cannot, that's why it's so important. And I've also seen that when we work together, that we could do incredible things. People listen differently when we speak with one voice together. And that doesn't mean that we agree with each other on everything, but where we can find common language, and everything from Holocaust denial to what's happening in the world today. Speaking out, we just a few months ago, we created in Poland what's called the Community of Conscience, which are different faith leaders working together. We just came out with a statement with what's happening on the border of Belarus and Poland with the refugees, where it's a political ping pong between a horrible dictator in Belarus, and I won't use any words describing the Polish government today, this political ping pong, that we, at least the faith leaders, came out and said, we have to do something to help the refugees. What the legal political response will be, that's to be decided later, but at least on the immediate humanitarian level, they have to be taken care of. And that kind of voice can be so much stronger than if just I speak out, or a bishop speaks out, or a Buddhist monk speaks out. And so it's really in just my few minutes that I have with you, I want to stress that we cannot imagine the power that we have when the power for good when we work together. Raphael, do you have a question for me? Or
well, thank you so much, Rabbi. I think what you have just said is very much the essence of what we are trying to achieve in this group, which actually includes faith leaders and individuals from all the 3 continents where you yourself have lived over the last decades. So I definitely agree with everything you mentioned, and I think what is especially valuable in your words today is the emphasis on the commemoration of genocide, which is very important, but also on awareness and sensitivity to contemporary issues such as the refugee issue, which we know is now very spectacular on the Polish Belarusian border and other borders in Europe or around Europe, but also it's an issue that we know very well from Asia, including Southeast Asia, including Bangladesh or Myanmar and other countries where our friends in this group also come from. So I think what you said summarizes the underlying issue very well. But if I may have a question, how do you think World War II in Europe and in Asia remains an important part of the context of contemporary discussions about human rights and genocide? Do you see differences? Do you see similarities?
well, World War II is a horrible time for the world. Certainly for Europe and for Asia. In a sense, South America was participated part of the Allied forces, but really the places where it really impacted on our lands was both in Europe and in Asia. There's no doubt the horrors that the Germans did and the horrors that the Japanese did. It's something that, how much is it part of the context today? I'm not an expert to speak about that, but what is important, it needs to be part of the context. Because if we forget what happened during World War II, as long as we remember, it gives us a small chance. We're one step farther away from letting something like that happen again. And also, as soon as a group is being denied human rights, as soon as the group is being said, they're not really human, whether it was the Japanese relationship with other Asian nations or the Germans towards the Jews, the Romi Sinti, even the Slav, also the Slavs and homosexuals. As soon as that happens, that has to be a red light for us, that now it's time to do something. You don't wait. If you have a cut on your hand, you don't wait until there's gangrene in your whole arm to do something. You put on some, penicillin, some antibiotic on the finger right away. And that's why I keep saying, as soon as somebody says that group is not really human, that group is lesser human, they're bad, they're kind of, in Polish they called gorsche sort, they're the worst kind. That is already a red light. It doesn't have to lead to genocide, but you almost never have genocide without first dehumanizing the other. And that's the lesson that I don't know how important, I don't know how active it is really in European and Asian memory. I don't feel competent to answer that, but it must be. And if it's not, we have to make it so.
Thank you very much for these words. Venerable Lablu, would you
Yes.
like to continue? Mhm.
Yes. So thank you so much, our respected Rabbi, and for your wonderful comment, and also for your encouragement to the faith leaders to work together, because it is most important. We must have to work together if we are to build a peaceful world. Because faithful leaders have a more connect with all the community of peoples, and they can go close to each other. So I'm very honored you arise the issue that we must have to be work together, all the faith leaders in the world, whatever their religious, but they must have to be work for the human's dignity and human's value, which is the common value for everyone's, and create the peaceful world. So thank you so much again, our honorable Rabbi. And
thank you so much, Toda Rabba. Omereto gozaimasu, arigato gozaimasu, sawadee kap, and terima kasih, and the other languages I don't know, I'm sorry, but I tried.
Dhanyavad. Yeah, dhanyavad to you for your
thank you.
Namaste and namaste.
Oh, namaste, of course, namaste, of course.
Namaste.
Okay.
And assalamu alaikum.
Shukran.
Yes, fine.
Okay, thank you.
So sawadee kap. And so, yeah, thank you so much, our Professor Raffles, and also our respected Rabbi. And also we are very honored and thanks our two speaker is with us today here, Jeremy and also Helen, and they are with us, and also all of our old friends and colleagues and our respected Buddhist monks. You are with us also in our fourth meeting. So we are again thanks to you. And now we are going to this. This is the meeting. Is a two-part as the briefly presentation about the 20 minutes. We will continue working in two breakout sessions. Room discuss two questions representing on the slide for 30 minutes. As you see in here, the two questions in the screen I see. There is a two question will be discussion on the breakout room. And after you can select one of the leaders in your groups, and then he can write down what you discussed. And then when you come back on the screen main page or main our meetings, then you can one can be explained what you discussed on the 30 minutes in the breakout rooms. So you can select this one. And now then we'll be back again in the main room and share the main takeaway, what is you discuss. Now I would like to give the floors to the Natalia and Professor Rafal Prankeski, members of the Never Again associations. Please, the floor is for you and you can take your floors. Thank you so much. And everyone's to be pleased you listen from our honorable two speakers, and they'll be discuss the discussions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Venerable Lablu, and welcome again to everyone. So today we will summarize a little bit not only our previous lectures, but we will talk more about Holocaust denial and Holocaust distortion. What is Holocaust denial and distortion? Why is it a problem? And how we can recognize and counter it? During our last three meetings with our speakers, Jeremy Jones and Ellen Corman Mines, we discussed briefly the Holocaust, Jewish people, their identity and their position as minorities in history and also today. Holocaust was a systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its allies and collaborators. Holocaust is the word of Greek origin meaning sacrifice by fire. And the Nazis who came to power in Germany in January 1933 believed that the Germans were racially superior and the Jews were inferior and they were a threat to Germans. The Holocaust was perpetrated by Germans in Central Eastern Europe, and Jews were exterminated in death camps or by bullets. And the first Holocaust deniers were perpetrators themselves, who attempt to destroy the evidence, such as gas chambers, where Jews were persecuted, where Jews were murdered. Holocaust denial was a set of historical claims presenting the Nazi regime in a favorable light, and it was created as a result of certain needs of neo-Nazi movements. Holocaust denial and Holocaust distortion are part of genocide denial and genocide distortion. Nevertheless, it has received more attention and popularity in the 90s when it became more widespread and sophisticated. And also there were less and there was a gradual disappearance of survivors and witnesses of Nazi crimes. There is outright denial or explicit denial, which denies the existence of a Holocaust itself, which is rare today. And also there are very few deniers today. Usually they are connected with neo-Nazi movements, and we had interesting presentation of Mark Weitzman about it, and the recording is available on our channel. But there is also another form of Holocaust distortion, and we are talking about so-called soft distortion if we use this terminology. And here you can see that International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance identified 5 main forms in the working definition of Holocaust distortion. This is intentional efforts to accuse or minimize the Holocaust or some of its elements, including the roles played by collaborators and allies of Nazi Germany, gross minimization of the numbers of victims, blaming Jews or blaming minorities, transfer of guilt to minorities for the Holocaust, casting the Holocaust as a positive historical event, and attempting to blur responsibility for the crimes of the Holocaust. And it is much harder to identify Holocaust distortion than Holocaust denial, because Holocaust denial is explicit and it's visible, and it denies the existence of the Holocaust itself, the facts itself. And Holocaust distortion is more sophisticated and more dangerous because it can come from anti-Semitism, prejudices, but also ignorance. And as I mentioned here, these are 5 main forms which exist, but it can be even more sophisticated, and there are many more forms which are very interconnected and linked. And today we will present 2 case studies of Holocaust distortion, which also you can find in the region of Southeast Asia. And now I would like to give the floor to Rafał Pankowski to present it.
Well, thank you, Natalia. Okay, we thought 2 broad issues could be interesting in this context, in the context of dialogue between Europe and the region of Southeast Asia. The first issue is related to symbols and symbolism. And especially one symbol that has very different contexts and often very different meanings in Europe and in Southeast Asia, the symbol of the swastika. Those meanings are different in different contexts, in different regions, but at the same time, to start with, I wanted to emphasize that after all, we live in one global symbolic space, and we should also take that into account. To 2 issues related to the Holocaust and Holocaust discourse and Holocaust distortion. One is the issue of symbolism, especially the symbol of the swastika. That is an old symbol with different meanings, including religious meaning in Southeast Asia, but it's also an old symbol in Europe. But in the 20th century, of course, it was borrowed or shall I say stolen by the Nazi party, the Nazi movement in Germany as a political symbol, and the meaning of the symbol was very much transformed and modified, and I think until today, for almost everybody in Europe, but also in North America, it remains a symbol of the Nazi movement, and the symbol of the Holocaust, and the symbol of genocide, the symbol of crime, the symbol of evil. But I think, you know, because of that, for many visitors from Europe to Southeast Asia, when they see this symbol in the Southeast Asian context, in the context of Buddhism or Hinduism, they may not know the context, and they may be actually quite shocked when they see the symbol. And I think it's one of those challenges for intercultural communication and intercultural dialogue, and in particular interfaith dialogue, to deal with those contrasting meanings, contexts, understandings of this very powerful and important symbol. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think I have more questions than answers about it, because I don't know how to deal with this issue, and I very much hope that we will find some suggestions or answers or recommendations on how to deal with this issue of the meaning of the swastika for different people, for different cultures, for different contexts, in a constructive way. And you know, let's just stress that symbols are important. Symbols are powerful. The symbols help people understand history, understand the world, convey information, understand ideas. And symbols also represent what people believe. So we have to discuss them also. So that would be one important issue that we wanted to discuss and raise today. And the second issue is even broader. It's even more complex. It is the subject of conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory that almost always results in scapegoating or vilifying minorities, often the Jewish minority, the Jewish community, as we know from the history of the Holocaust, but also from many centuries of European history, and we also know that similar cases occurred outside of Europe, including in Southeast Asia, including in recent years in countries such as Malaysia or Thailand or other countries. So once again, we are talking about a global context of the phenomenon of, you know, especially when times are uncertain and there is a lot of anxiety in society, which I think is precisely what we are going through in the last years because of the pandemic. If people don't fully understand what is happening, or they don't know what to expect, they often turn to conspiracy theory, which in the context of the pandemic often means anti-Chinese conspiracy theory, but also, at least in the case of Poland, it often means anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish conspiracy theory. So trying to blame a minority, a certain community for everything that goes wrong has a long tradition, unfortunately, and a long history. Also in my country, and I think, you know, one of the most historically significant conspiracy theories directed against the Jews was the fake publication known as the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I think, okay, this is the cover of one of the editions from 1930, and of course this fake theory of a Jewish conspiracy trying to dominate the world. It played a very tragic role in history, in the lead up to the Holocaust. It originated in Russia, it became popular in Germany, also in Poland, also in France, in other European countries. And I think it is probably, you know, the best known instance of an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that we still encounter in many places, in many countries, even now in the 21st century. But there is another conspiracy theory that is even older than the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is known as blood libel, or the conspiracy theory of ritual slaughter, the allegation against Jews who are supposedly guilty of kidnapping and murdering children, which we know historically is completely false, and it was proved false many centuries ago. But even this kind of crazy, false accusation can be found, and I'm afraid also in the religious context, in the context of the Catholic Church. For example, the Catholic University in Lublin, in Poland, this year again issued something that comes very close to legitimizing this kind of crazy and fake theory, which is all the more ironic because the same allegation, the same accusation was made against Christians in ancient Rome. The Christians were also accused of kidnapping and murdering children with no basis, with no proof. So this kind of allegation is frequently made against Jews, has been made against Jews in history, but it could be made against other minorities, other groups. The mechanism of conspiracy theory is often similar, and the topic of Holocaust denial and Holocaust distortion, or more broadly, genocide denial and genocide distortion, is also related to the phenomenon of conspiracy theory, because it alleges that a certain minority, such as Jews, are able to create a so-called myth of the Holocaust. The minority, according to the conspiracy theory, is able to dominate global view of history, which, if we think about it, of course, is again completely crazy. But I think again the mechanism is similar, and it amounts to vilifying a minority such as the Jewish community for allegedly producing stories about a genocide that affected them. And I think if we reflect on other regions and other countries' history, we might also identify conspiracy theories that allege that a group fabricated stories of their own persecution. If we look at the Rohingya in Myanmar, if we look at the Cambodian genocide and many other instances of persecution and genocide, similar strategies of denial have been employed. by different actors, and at least in some cases, those strategies of denial have been employed in the religious context or in the context of religious institutions. And again, I'm mostly thinking about Myanmar just now, but we can find many other cases and examples from many countries around the world. What I think we would be, very interested to learn from you is your views and your opinions about what can be done to counter this type of conspiracy theories, especially related to genocide denial or genocide distortion. For example, what can the respected leaders do in the context of religion or in the context of institutions such as the Sangha? Yes, so the Buddhist community. Again, I think we have more questions than answers, and hopefully we can discuss some of those ideas and answers in our group discussion today. So I don't know, Venerable Lablu, Natalia, do you want to add something before we go into groups now?
Thank you so much, Professor Rafal from Kreski. I think, yeah, thank you so much. And I think we can go to our break rooms. And as I tell, because a lot of Buddhist monks are joining in here, and so I would again thanks to you and also of our followers, and on behalf of Never Again associations. And so actually the theory, correspondency theory, this theory is not during the Nazi Bahini, and it's happening at the present moments, like as what happened in 2012 in Ramu, Cox's Bazar, like I said, just only the fake news on the Facebooks, and more than 20 temples and 100 houses destroyed, and also a few years ago, and also some of the Hindu temples burned. These kinds of theory always be happening with the minority peoples, in not only in Bangladesh and also in Asian country, like as we see in the Sri Lanka also one case, how the distorted of the Muslim people in the Sri Lanka, or that this is like a religious conflict by some theory they apply, because they try to be distorted by the coming to the hatred speech. They give the hatred speech. And also we can see some cases also in India, in Southeast Asia, many countries, even if this is the developed country, we can see the white and black. Many have a problem with the racism problems, and this everything have some of the gains for some peoples. And they must apply some of the theory, and this theory be affect, or this theory be make problems to genocide, or this theory create the genocide. Like us in Bangladesh, we can say that before independence in Bangladesh, 1971, 14 December, who are the very spiritual and who are very intellectual people killed by the Pakistans, which is we are called the Buddhijibi Day. That means the intelligence people killed by the Pakistani military. This is happening everywhere. It is many ways. So I would like to all of the Buddhist monks and all of the participants in here. So give your idea, how can you solve these kinds of problems, and what kinds of roles you can play for the create the peaceful world, and to be the essay, what's the dialogue you can create each other or each group, regardless of the religious, regardless of your color, regardless of your east, west, south, East, where Asian or wherever, how can you believe in a peaceful? So I think it's better now we are going to the break out rooms, and we'll be discuss about the two questions in here, and also give your idea and write your opinions, and then you come back to our main page. And so I think this is better. And also you can see our record last first meeting and second meeting and third meetings. You can watch in our page, which is the Never Again Association web page. You can see our record, and also you can see in the Holocaust in Southeast Asia educations. This way you can see. So I think we can now go into our bedroom. We have 29 participants. I think the leader by the Professor Raffles and also Natalia Prankaske. We can divide it two groups. So we can discuss there and we can share the personal opinions of that. Okay, can I make a groups now? Or please, Natalia, you can do it. Breakout rooms.
Yes, I think so I created only one breakout rooms, and the rest of the group can stay in the main room.
Okay.
Okay, so you just need to accept I created already breakout rooms. Should we ask the first group who discuss conspiracy theories to share with us the main takeaways?
Yeah, everyone is come back already?
Yes. So who will be Rafal? Who will?
Okay, I can do it. I'm sorry, I was lost in between rooms for for a few seconds. Okay, we had a really interesting conversation. In my view, we didn't solve all the problems, obviously, but I think we had some interesting examples, as well as comments, as well as constructive ideas. In conclusion, so to sum up the conversation quickly, and there will be a written summary later. We agreed there are many examples of conspiracy theories directed against minorities in many countries. One of the examples that was given was the example of the conspiracy theory about the role of India and Indians in the run-up to the liberation war of Bangladesh. So it's a conspiracy theory that that played a role in the genocide, and it has also played a role in genocide denial ever since, which is obviously a powerful example. We also talked about the case of Cambodia, which is a little bit different in the sense that genocide was largely committed by ethnic Cambodians against ethnic Cambodians. So it was not just about ethnic conflict, even though minorities were among those groups that were targeted, but all religions and temples were targeted. So mosques, churches, pagodas, as well as educated people. So so the Khmer Rouge genocide cannot be reduced to ethnic or religious conflict. It had many other dimensions too. Then we also heard from Esther from Myanmar about the more contemporary versions of conspiracy theories, for example, related to COVID vaccinations, or other theories such as flat Earth conspiracy theory, which are often spread through social media. And they often include this element of anti-minority propaganda and fake facts and building or exploiting people's fears and anxiety. And sometimes religious leaders are also victims of this kind of propaganda, and then they might be spreading this kind of propaganda themselves. So yes, it was stressed that maybe we live in an age of social media which is especially prone to conspiracy theory. And then we heard from Maya from Austria and Israel, who gave us some positive ideas on how conspiracy theory and genocide denial can be counteracted through education, with tools enabling individuals to acknowledge that the difference between true information and false information, encourage critical thinking, recognize facts which are backed up with testimony and research, which are credible, and also encourage using different points of view in order to find reliable sources of information. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Professor Raffles. And please, Natalia, please, can you share some?
Yes, thank you very much, also Rafael, for this comprehensive sharing with us, your main takeaways. You really had a very interesting discussion, and in our group we had most venerables, Buddhist monks, and we had Rajan Barua. So, and it was a diverse group from Thailand, Bangladesh. So, and also Jeremy Jones was with us. So, and we discussed. It was a new discussion for us. We discussed that for many of our participants, of course, they know swastika as a symbol of prosperity, of well-being, and something important. They know it from their childhood, and then, of course, we started to talk about how these symbols are important, how people follow these symbols, why they're so attractive, and these symbols are important. And when we discuss that step by step, we can also learn that how it was misused by the Nazi Germany. And we had different also examples, like visiting a market for example, in Bangkok or in other countries and cities in Asia. We can see someone is selling a t-shirt with swastika, and probably people around, sellers, they don't know even the meaning, because they used to see the swastika at the temple. And now they can see, they can sell it, and they don't know the history behind. So it's also important to think about the place. For example, on the market, it's dangerous, but also if you go to the temple and you see swastika, it has a different meaning. So context is important, place is important. And we discussed that as faith leaders, we can develop this issue. We can initiate a kind of more dialogue to learn from each other and to go more mainstream. And Buddhist monks were really faith leaders in the region, very important. People follow them. So maybe it's something we can develop. And I would like to ask our group if you'd like to comment very briefly, shortly, to add to my words. And also we have Jeremy Jones as our speaker of our series. Maybe he can also say something at the end. So please. Someone else would like to add something? Or maybe Jeremy, you'd like to say some words as a speaker?
Okay, I just say we identified a real dilemma, because for people from Europe, from the West, the swastika has one meaning only, and that is identification with evil, with terrible evil. So various countries will ban the swastika or display of the swastika, and people for whom it is a symbol of happiness or goodwill can be shocked. They may have a swastika in their home, and their visitors will come and say, how can you have this symbol? And it becomes very complex, because a question arises: are there alternative symbols of goodwill and happiness? So the swastika can be moved out of center stage? Is it a matter of reclaiming the swastika, explaining to people that there is a meaning of the symbol which was stolen by the Nazis?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
It's meant for good reasons or bad reasons because we see it as evil.
Jeremy, I think we couldn't hear you for the last few seconds.
Okay, is it better without my camera on?
I think we can hear you okay now.
Yes, I've turned off the camera because I know that uses bandwidth. I was saying we have the dilemma that even though it is not a symbol of evil for many people, in Western countries, countries that fought against the Nazis in the Second World War, it is such a symbol of evil, it is banned. So you have to work out, is it going to be reclaimed as a symbol by those who had it before the Nazis? Or is it going to be replaced by other symbols which do not cause offense? How are we going to work through these situations in the long term? We don't know. But in the short term, we know it is very difficult for people who want to maintain the swastika with its traditional meaning because of what the Nazis did with that symbol.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much, Jeremy Jones. And would anyone like to share your opinion or your idea? Hello. Anyone would like to share with your idea or opinions?
Yeah, Venerable. Again, I'm very interested about your topics in the series 1 until now. And then I cannot stop myself just involved. The thing is, Professor and Venerable and everyone in this conference together, my point is, I'm not trying to denial or helping any perpetrator who committed genocide, but the problem is, the thing is, there's so many combinations. Like one of our friends from Myanmar saying about the social media and the fake information, and also the people who come to get the information from the local context are not proper. Come to do research properly. They don't know about the local context. What does that mean? They not. I don't say about only. It's it's like office working, or they read through the information from the book or from whoever have been written it without careful about the information. Because for the local, it's very important. But for some of them, I don't know if this thing is important. For example, I don't point any one name, but for example, they're one of the research.
Missiles to share your comment, and it's happened actually when there's some researchers, they do the research, and they don't try to go the real fact, because they have their own propaganda or own their benefit and own their agenda. And this is because they cannot go behind their identity. So this is happening now. So extremely sorry, and we saw this, but we believe that all the researchers must come with the true fact, and it will be know the real history of people mind, and it will be keep non be deny any fact. So most important to talk, and most important to write the real fact and real what is happening. Even some people will be not happy with your real fact. You have to be show the real fact. So thank you so much for your wonderful comment and a wonderful experience with us. And today I am against to tell you that.
I think, I'm sorry, Venerable Lablo, I think Esther would like to ask something briefly. I just see with
Yeah, who?
Esther, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, fast.
sorry.
Thank you. Just very short. I just want to highlight one short comment about, because this is very important discussion. And earlier in our group also, Maya have mentioned how can we counter, it's talking about education and critical thinking. And I'm also, I believe in that. And I am also currently, as a peace educator, I'm focusing on critical thinking and all this conscious raising work. But at the same time, what I can see from this, our 4-week series and, learning a lot, that what we found is that sometimes it's not just about making educated or giving awareness or critical thinking. It's not just the only solution we can really work well, because like also Jeremy also just mentioned that about dilemma, like people just accept what they want, and why they chose to accept what they chose or what they want, that is very much depend on their mental trauma and their fear and their anxiety. And when we're looking at all the crime, it's not about denial, but when we're really looking at it, sometimes this is restorative justice. When we're looking at it, the perpetrator are also sometimes they also the victim of this crimes and hatred. So that's why we have to also, I'm not a religious leader, but I would like to request here also a lot of religious leaders, so that it would be very important to help them this mental trauma and fear, because this age, 21st century, more and more anxiety come up with people, the poverty, the economics, all this unemployment, the IT, everything make people more pressure, more stress, and more anxiety and more concern, and that make them easier to believe all this conspiracy theory. And then regardless of education, we can see the last week YouTube videos that even the university student, the college student are the one who committed those crimes. And so that's why it's also very important to provide those mental trauma and anxiety and care about people. Those work also important. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your very wonderful comment, and also at this moment, actually, this is happening everywhere. The mental trauma is very important at this moment. And the COVID situations, I think it is also make more trauma, because even the students, they are living in their homes, they cannot go to the school, and who are working, they cannot go to their workplace, and they cannot meet their beloved with them. So many fact is happening. So mental trauma and mental stress or mental anxiety is very much stressness is very higher rate, and that's why many at the news we are finding from the also World Health Organizations, many this mental problem is always fears coming, because they lose and they don't have a financial support. So they all the times they are have a fears. So I think one thing I can say that we must have to be the mindfulness, and we must have to be the acceptance ability to develop our own minds, what we have, what the situations we can be associated, or we can be lead with these situations. I think mental satisfaction is most important at this moment, and to be right understanding and right mindfulness. That means we must have to be understand what is going on, and we have to be keep knowledge then, and that's why we must have to be grow up our own satisfactions. What we have to live with these things, I think. So thank you so much for your comments, wonderful comment and sharing. I think this is most important. So I would like to all of my friends and colleagues, and to the honorable speaker here who joining here, everyone, to our joins next meetings. We hopefully will be arranged the one of the meeting on 20 of September 2021, and we will be inform you by email, and also will be first in our Never Again Association page, and also will be in a social media, will be published it. I think you will be know the time and timetables when our speakers. I think you'll be hope you'll be enjoy our next meeting with us. So I again cordially invite you to join with our next meeting on 20 September, and if will be anything change will be from you, but we hopefully on 20 of September will be have a next meetings, and I hope you will be with us and we can learn many things, because here is I saw that many of the young Buddhist monks from Bangladesh, from India, and my most venerable from the Myanmar, because this is the wonderful, the young leaders, young faithful leaders to create the peaceful society for the harmony and communal harmony in the world. So I again thanks to our honorable participants. And if you want to watch our video, please you can go our Never Again Association page and Holocaust Education and Genocide Awareness in Southeast and Southeast Asia, these two pages, and then you can watch our video from first lesson to third lesson, and the fourth lesson will be published within few days. You can see the 4 series in our web page, and also you can see the web in my personal page, and also our Natalia her face. You can see the Facebook page. You can see and you can watch about the video. And thank you so much to with us. And I tell you that please again we'll be take the one group pictures today, and I make one the last comment as a moderator. I hope that you'll be understanding we need to be the for avoid the genocide, avoid the Holocaust, and avoid the conflict. We must have to be the forgiveness, because hatred always create the hatred. So we must have to be create our mind with compassion and given forgiveness, and why have to be go what the reason, the road of the cost, road of the suffers, and have to understand, and we have to be upset what is diversity, and we have to be determine ourselves. We will not do any bad things, we will be do the good things. So again, thank you so much, and I think we are going to finish in here. I think our
May I say one word, please?
Yes, last words from speaker.
Yes. Only that next Monday night is the beginning of the new Jewish religious year. And we have a custom before the year to apologize to everybody, anybody individually, for anything we did which may have harmed them during the year, or anything we didn't do that we should have done to care for them and look after them. So I would like for this group to apologize to each of you as individually as we can for anything that I might have done or anything I might not have done which I should have done. And please accept my apologies. It's important to my understanding of what I must do as part of repentance before I begin the new year.
Thank you so much, and for your wonderful word with us. And we also bless you the happy Jewish New Year's, and for your prosperity and for your success, and also for your be long live and be you are always with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Jerry Jones. And so please turn on your camera, and we'll be take the one group pictures, and will be post in our Facebook page. And please turn on your camera, everyone.